Okay, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We hope you are watching real time as a Patreon patron, and our new feature, if you are an Amazon Prime member and you link your Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, you're getting this the same time as our Patreon patrons, and we thank you very much. Instructions on how to do that are in the description of the show below. So if you can do that, it costs you nothing, we get paid, appreciate it. All right, our question today comes from Patreon from Michael Dragone. I think we all realize that one way or another coronavirus will eventually pass. When it does, do you think the market will recover quickly, or will it be more prolonged? Hope you and your family are well. Be safe. Thank you very much. My family so far is very well. Okay, so it's a complicated question that's probably better answered by an economist, but I'll tell you what I think. It really depends upon what happens to the people who are displaced. And I don't mean ill people, I mean people whose jobs are eliminated. So in the case of, say, a Gamestop, let's say Gamestop has, and I don't even know how many employees, 25,000 employees. And they give everybody 2 weeks pay and say, we can't stay open, please go home, and we'll call you when this passes. And let's just pretend it lasts 3 months, and I don't know how long it's gonna last, but let's go with that. Well, those guys probably aren't finding other jobs. It's not like they can go to work at, at a restaurant, because those are closed too. They can't go to other retail because that's closed too. They may go to supermarkets and liquor stores that are open, which should be open, and cannabis suppliers are open. Fascinating. I didn't know that until I actually went to the grocery store the other day and I saw people lined up 6 feet apart to go into the cannabis dispensary, and I was like, of course that's essential. Yeah, and so those guys, probably prefer to work there. So when GameStop calls them up and says, hey, come back to work, they will. But that's probably not true of every restaurant job. Every busboy and dishwasher, and they may go somewhere else. They may have moved and said, gosh, now I can't pay my rent in California, so I'm moving back to Oklahoma or whatever. And so I think it's going to take a while for businesses to come back, and there are some businesses that won't come back. So let's say you're a restaurant. One of the restaurants in my neighborhood, Waltz Wharf in Seal Beach, it's been there, gosh, as long as I can remember. I'd say 30 years, 40 years, probably 40 years. They just announced they're closing. They're never reopening. And my wife told me about it, and she's like, well, why did they close? And I go, they've been there 40 years. I said, because they have to pay rent, and they don't have to pay their employees, but I think they probably didn't want to just tell their employees, screw you. And I think their rent is expensive. They're in a high rent. They're right near the beach. It's a really nice seafood place. And my guess is that their rent is a couple $100,000 a month. And they were just like, we can't pay this. So no. So we close, we'll tell our landlord, see you later. We're not paying anymore. And so what do you do if you work there? Now you don't have a job. So I've read that as many as 50% of privately owned restaurants are going to close as a result of this, if this lasts 3 months. And that means that, the chain restaurants, McDonald's and Applebee's and stuff, will come back. But privately held restaurants, no. Movie theaters could go away. There's lots of jobs that are going to disappear. So the economy is not going to recover as quickly as the president suggests. He called it a V curve, down and then straight back up. It's going to linger, and we're going to have to figure out the impacts, and there will be bankruptcies. And the question is, what happens to mom and pop hotels? Somebody will step in and buy the hotel property because it's got value. But, you got to work through all the creditors. What happens to malls, that are closed for months? Nobody's paying rent in the mall, the conventional mall. And so do those guys go bankrupt? So I think it's going to take a good year to sort out, and probably 2 for the market to come all the way back to where it was. And to be honest with you, the market has been on fire because the government has been borrowing money and injecting it into the system. So if you keep spending the same amount, but you tax people less, then what that does, the difference between government spending and tax receipts is the national debt, is deficit. If you keep deficit spending by $1 trillion a year, and that's what we've been doing, then the wealth in the country goes up by $1 trillion because that money's being spent, and the debt goes up by $1 trillion, so it evens out on the balance sheet. But everybody has more profits, and the market reflects that as it's going to keep going. I would be pretty comfortable saying that if Trump gets reelected, the market will come back a little faster. I'm not a Trump fan because they'll assume he's going to keep doing this. But if anybody else gets elected, they're going to have to be serious about the deficit. The deficit's crazy.
Thank you, fellow babies, for watching the Pachter Factor. But if you're watching on YouTube, what the hell is wrong with you? You can either be a SIFTD patron on Patreon for $2 a month, or you can link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, which is really easy. And let's be real, if you have YouTube, you have an Amazon Prime account. So follow the instructions below and link it. Either way, we're gonna get $2. One's gonna cost you, one's gonna cost Twitch. Either way, you get the content real time when it's released daily.